I recently made $17,500 on a deal I just completed. Now I know there's someone out there saying, oh, that's not a lot, I've made more than that. Well, I've made more than that too. But there's 5 important lessons I want to share with you from this wholesale deal that I think apply to those of you who are first-time house flippers. So before we get started, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future videos. All right, let's dive in. Lesson number 1, don't let anybody talk you out of doing deals in the city that you want to do deals in. There's a lot of talk about like, oh, the market is too competitive in X city and that's why you should invest in this other city out of state. And for those of you who are watching in more competitive markets like Los Angeles, San Diego, San Francisco, New York, it's very easy to fall into that trap of, oh, my market is too competitive and I have to invest out of state, and that's simply not true. This deal was in the Silver Lake area of Los Angeles, about 5 to 10 minutes from downtown LA, of course without traffic, and on the other side of Dodger Stadium. Now this Silver Lake, Echo Park, Northeast Los Angeles area is very popular for young professionals and hipsters, and has been gentrifying over the past few years, and quite honestly, I think this area of Los Angeles has been targeted for gentrification even before South LA, Mid-City, and Inglewood. And because of that, it is a very popular area and neighborhood for house flippers. However, I was able to grab a deal in this area. So I just want you to know that just because you might be in a competitive market, that does not mean you have to go to another city to be successful. Don't let anybody bully you into thinking that that's a necessity to be successful in this business. Lesson number 2 is to be persistent. I believe that a lot of you guys who are in these competitive markets are not persistent enough, and you think that you have to do deals in another city because you aren't gaining the traction that you think you should be gaining. However, you simply aren't being persistent. You might do something like, oh, I'll go driving for dollars one Saturday morning for 30 minutes, find 10 properties and mail 2 of them. Or you might do something like pull a list of 100 absentee owners, only mail 50 of them, and then cry yourself to sleep and tell yourself that this business doesn't work because you didn't get a deal out of those 100 leads. And for the few of you who do get motivated sellers on the phone, you're not persistent enough. And I don't mean persistent in a sales pushy way. Here's what I mean. For this deal, the mother had owned the property. Unfortunately, she passed away. Her son was living on the East Coast, but didn't really want anything to do with the property. And I didn't know the mother was deceased. And in trying to reach the mother, one of the phone numbers that was associated with her was actually the phone number to the son. Now, I called that number asking for the mom. Now, here's where the persistency comes into play. Now, after this deal closed, I asked the seller, why did he decide to work with me? And what he said was really intriguing. He said he had a lot of callers calling him asking for his mother. He would tell them that his mother is deceased, and they would simply say, okay, thank you, and hang up. However, I was the only one who asked what I would think is the next logical question. Well, okay, I'm sorry to hear that your mother is deceased. Who is the person in charge of handling her business? Who is in charge of taking care of her property out here in Los Angeles? The son said that I was the only one who asked that question, and that was completely shocking to me. So I wasn't the first to call, but I was the first one to be persistent enough to ask a follow-up question to get a little bit more detail about the situation, and that helped me to build rapport with the seller. And as I'm talking this through, I just thought of another important lesson, and I'll give you this one for free. If you feel like you live in a competitive market and the market is just completely oversaturated, you only have to be a smidge better than your competition, right? You only have to be like 1% better. As it relates to this deal, I didn't do any type of ninja, sales psychology, neurolinguistic programming, reverse psychology, sales tactics, right? I just asked what I thought was the next logical question. So if you take the time to invest in your learning, invest in yourself, and just do one thing that can help you stand out from the competition, that will help you to feel like there really isn't competition. Because trust me, it's only competition and crowded at the bottom. As you improve and develop yourself, the competition becomes fewer and fewer. And when you take the time to invest in yourself and just get 1% better every week, that 1% compounds on top of each other, and it'll show and you'll get the results that you have been working for. Lesson number 3 is to know your market. If you live in a big city like San Diego or Los Angeles, there's so many sub-cities and sub-neighborhoods within that larger metropolitan area. So take Los Angeles, for example. One of my favorite examples here is the zip code 90043. Within that one zip code, you probably have about 10 different neighborhoods. Or you can take the zip code 90008, which is Baldwin Hills and the J's. The Baldwin Hills is right on top of the J's. So you really have to know your market in order for you to get accurate numbers. And as it relates to this deal in Silver Lake, I really didn't know the market, right? When I was looking at comparable sales, trying to figure out what I felt the ARV was, the sales just kind of seemed a little bit all over the place. Now, when it comes to this Silver Lake deal, I really didn't know and feel comfortable with the market. When I was doing my research to kind of figure out what comparable sales were so that I could figure out what the ARV is, I was seeing things that were a little bit all over the place, right? There were some properties that had views, some that did not, some that were on a hill, some that were on flat land, some of them were on a small lot, and some of them were on a larger lot, but maybe the larger lot didn't really have a usable backyard. So there was just a lot of variation. And because I wasn't familiar with the market, I didn't really feel comfortable in nailing down a true ARV. And that leads me to lesson number 4. Be confident in your numbers and be confident in your ARV, your after repair value. And having accurate numbers, especially the ARV, is super important because your ARV is going to determine your purchase price, and what you feel your purchase price should be is going to determine where you start your negotiations with the seller. With this Silver Lake deal, I was not confident in the ARV. To me, the comps were a little bit all over the place for the reasons I mentioned a little bit earlier. And for that reason, I decided to take the guaranteed money and wholesale the deal versus taking on the risk and possibly losing time and losing money if I was to take the project on and actually close on the deal and actually flip the project. And this point leads me to lesson number 5. Just because I do 6-figure flips here in Los Angeles does not mean that I'm too good to take a guaranteed quick nickel versus taking on a risky slow dime. Over the years, I have learned everything is not going to be a slam dunk. Everything is not going to be a home run. It is okay to take single hits, meaning just take a single, get on base, and those singles add up and eventually you will score. Let me know in the comments below what lesson was most important to you, and if you haven't already, be sure to like and subscribe to this video and check out my previous video where I talk about working with private money lenders. See you guys next time.